Well, like I said before, there's a couple of things we have to work on. Again, our football conditioning is a concern right now. We have to do a better job there. And there's still some competition, at some groups. And I was wishing that it would separate itself better. And within the next couple of days, we'll make those decisions as a staff, and we'll move on from there, and then we'll start getting ready for the upcoming season.
Questions for Coach?
But do you have a certain time when you feel like you have to make those decisions? Tomorrow, Friday?
It's just one of those things that you want to, you like to be able to make them. Our schedule's kind of tough, We get back in today, and we have dinner now, and then we have meetings all the way till tonight. Then we have the players coming in the morning, so then we have a bunch of orientation and things to get ready. So the next couple of days are kind of tough, as far as scheduling. Usually we'll go Thursday, Friday, and even Saturday, for the school. So we got to get them settled in, get them ready to go academically. So this way, that first week everything's done. Things like book slips and class schedules and advisement and doing that, and that's the right thing to do. And then we get all that stuff done now, and then we'll start looking forward to our first game.
From a scrimmage standpoint, is that it tonight, or do you think you may need a little more time to decide some of those issues?
No, I don't think I'll go forth with obviously another scrimmage to make those decisions. It'll probably be obviously how they perform in practice.
Can you just describe tonight's scrimmage? How long?
Today's scrimmage, we had the ones going out there. We had 40 minutes of individual, some tough work in there, some situations that were live with the D-line, and then with the protection periods. And then after that, we had a -20 move the ball scrimmage, with the offense and the defense, and then we went to red zone with the offense and defense. That was pretty much the scrimmage for just the ones and the twos. Like I said before, a little sloppy. Got to work on our conditioning. We still got we got a lot of improvement tonight. Then after that, we put in some of the younger players, to get them some more reps that we felt that we were behind on. And pretty much scrimmage has been pretty good. Probably about anywhere between 6 and 8 series of the scrimmage. So I'm excited to look at that tonight, because some of the young guys obviously may be in a mix, whether it's in a 2-deep starter or in a special teams area.
Coach, who have you been most happy with the offensive line? You spent time with the line and, working with the tight ends and blocking and all. Who have you really seen step up so far?
I don't know if not maybe as far as the performance, of anyone, but I think, probably the thing that if I look back and say something that shocked me the most, is probably the way that Sean Hickey has been playing. For someone that's had, in the last 2 years, and that's fall and spring, 12 practices, coming from, the major injury that he's had. He's had quite a few injuries, and really feeling good about him being injury-free going into this, and the way he's playing. But I kind of said that before. Sean was a guy that when we recruited him, probably was had better numbers than maybe any of the other kids that we've recruited, as far as being able to lift and run and do a lot of things and learn the playbook. So, obviously those things help, and I think we all realize as coaches, when you bring in smart kids, smart players, guys that are dedicated, even with some adversity like he's had, they could come back and play.
Coach, compared to where you wanted this team to be at the end of training camp, can you kind of gauge or grade how this camp went?
No problem. I think I don't think that a coach ever gets up here and says, hey, we're exactly where we want to be or where I should be. I think that for me, again, we got to work on our conditioning. We got to work on tackling. We have to work on finishing our blocks. We're not, we're far. We're a ways away, from being a team that can go out there and compete the way we all would like, to compete. When I say the way we all would like to compete, I'm talking about players and coaches.
Coach, at the start of camp, you said the key for Marcus Sales to be consistent. At this point, what have you seen from him?
I think it's the same thing. I think I've seen some better things out of Marcus. But it's when you're a coach and you get questions about someone, you always want more. And I think we can get more out of Marcus. And I think that he's given us good effort on the field, and we need to continue to get that type of effort to make it more consistent. But I've seen some spots of better things from Marcus.
Do you have a status update on Christopher Curtis? Is he close to returning? Or?
Yeah, I found out this afternoon late. We had meetings that our doctors have recommended that Chris, because of his medical issues, would not be able to play again. I literally tried to grab Chris. I said, Chris, listen, we have meetings. I'm going to a scrimmage. I said, let's make sure we get together tomorrow and talk about this, because my normal procedure is, I get the student athletes and we call the parents before we announce anything. And then I was made aware when I was coming off the bus by my director of operations that Chris had tweeted that. And I saw Chris just now. I said, Chris, why would you do that? He said, Coach, I know I made a mistake. I should have came in and spoken to you first. So those things happen with kids, and that's the situation.
Coach, you said you're waiting for somebody to emerge at running back Saturday. Has somebody emerged there the last few days?
No, I wouldn't right now say, hey, here's the guy we're going to give the ball 30 times to. I would not say that right now today. That may change in the next couple of days, but right now I think you'll see a couple of guys, and we're discussing exactly who they are.
Is Devontae McFarland in that mix?
Yes, he is. We put him in. We moved him a couple of days ago, probably 2 days ago. Really try to, it's very difficult when you move someone in 2 days. Devontae was a two-sport type of guy, went both ways, played defensive back, and then played running back. And we wavered back and forth, or I should say not we, I wavered back and forth on where to put him. There was a point that we thought we were going to get somebody, another running back in here at the time, which I'm not allowed to mention their name, I guess, because of the rules. Maybe I am, but I don't think I will, just in case. So I thought that Devontae is a big, strong, fast, can hit. So we thought safety, maybe he would grow into a linebacker because he's that type of kid. And then when the situation came up of the running back situation where no one was really taking it, and we just moved Devontae over there, and he's done a nice job.
Coach, just as far as at this point in camp, moving towards the now starting to prepare for the first game, as you get closer, how does that change the focus, what you guys are trying to do day to day?
Well, I think it changes drastically. What happens now in the course of the next couple of days, evaluations go in, roles start being placed on players, things have to be communicated well so the player understands his role and accepts it. Doesn't mean he has to like it. And then obviously we start preparing ourselves strategically for our first opponent.
I know you, Doug, I know you obviously, practice with who's on the field, but, when you have something like, the Curtis situation come up, you had to be thinking down the road, like, this is where I'm going to plug him in when he comes back. Does your thought process change now? Do you have to look at other options at the backup right tackle spot? Or
well, the thought process for me is usually, when you have an injury and there's a possibility of that occurring, where someone may not be able to play again. I think once that possibility is brought up, you immediately shift. So
you had already done that then?
I've done that because we weren't really sure. No one was really sure what it was. So, when it goes from someone else to someone else, and someone's not sure, and you're going to specialists and everything. Once that starts for me, I know it's probably going to be a long situation. So we already start making that decision. So, we feel, I feel good right now. Andy Phillips has played in the game for us. Sean, I think, is playing well enough for us to win. And then we just have to wait out the decision on Justin. And when Justin comes back, we should be, pretty good there. And we got some good young tackles that have played well, but lack the experience probably that we need. So, we could always move one of those inside guys outside, like guard. We're probably, not even talking to Coach Atkins. I don't even bring that up because I don't think we'll get there.
Time for a question, two more.
Coach, you talked about someone stepping up from the running back position. Have you seen anyone step up when it comes to receiver and really, out there in camp, talking with Coach Moore, really stand out?
I'm struggling a little bit with that. Lemon's had a lower body that's kept him out. you know, but obviously he has a lot of past history, so just struggling really to see what the combination is in the rotation. You know, I don't know if we line up, you know, exactly who the other teams perceive, you know, as being the guy that they have to stop. So I think we have a lot of work to go in the receiver position.
Other question, anyone? Okay, thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks
everybody.
guys.
Student athletes will be right